Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Testo video guide series. In this guide I'll show you the basics of working with Virtual Manager. If you are already familiar with Virtual Manager and you know how to use it, then you may skip this guide and move on right to the next one. So what is Virtual Manager and why do we need it? The main concept of Testo framework is test scripts with virtual machines in them. But Testo doesn't directly control the virtual machines. Instead, it uses the hypervisor's API to do that. For example, if Testo operates on a Linux host, then the virtual machines are controlled with the QEMU hypervisor. But Testo doesn't give you the opportunity to look into a virtual machine, to understand what's going on inside. And it doesn't let you interact with the machine directly. If you're running already developed test scripts, for instance on a test server, then those features are not essential to you, you can live by without them. But if you are developing test scripts, then you just can't do without those features. It would be too inconvenient. And that is why we need Virtual Manager, an open source graphical client designed for interaction with virtual machines. It is with Virtual Manager we'll be observing what's going on inside a virtual machine and doing something with it if necessary. So let's move on and see what Virtual Manager is like. Let's open it. The first thing we're gonna see is the main virtual machine control panel. Here we can find the list of created virtual machines, their states, and even CPU usage. For now it's empty, because we haven't created anything. Let's fix that and create our first virtual machine. To do that, we press the Create Machine button and go into the Creation Wizard. The first step is to choose the way of the installation. Usually a virtual machine is created from local source, ISO image on the computer or CD-ROM. But there are more exotic ways to create a virtual machine. Network install, network boot via PXE, or creating a machine from an existing virtual disk image. Usually it's a disk of some already existing virtual machine. On the second step, you need to select the installation media, ISO image or CD-ROM with the operating system you want to install. I'll use the Windows 7 installation ISO image that I had got ready beforehand. Also on this step, you need to specify the operating system you're installing. The automatic detect doesn't work well with Windows, so in this case, you should manually choose generic default type. The third step determines how much resources the virtual machine is going to get. The default values are more than enough for Windows 7. On the fourth step, we need to specify the virtual disk size for the machine. In our case, 12 GB would be quite enough. As an alternative, you can select an already existing virtual disk image. Finally, on the fifth step, you have to pick a name for the virtual machine and connect it to a virtual network if you want to. Optionally, you can check the complete configuration of the machine before its actual creation. Let's take that option. Here we can see the complete configuration. We can see the generic information about the machine as well as emulated hardware settings. Among other things, you can find the information about the operating system, the CPU, the memory, the boot menu, the disk, CD-ROM, and etc. Take a look at the USB controller settings. By default, the USB controller Model 2 is created, which means that the virtual machine won't recognize the USB Model 3 sticks. If you need the USB 3 support, just change the USB controller model to 3. If you are not satisfied with the virtual machine configuration, you can change it now or later after the machine is created. For example, you could add some new virtual hardware by clicking the Add Hardware button. We are OK with the current configuration, so let's click on Begin Installation button. This will create and start the virtual machine. We can see a new window with the new machine's virtual screen. Through this window we can not only see everything that's going on with the machine, but also interact with it as well, press buttons, move the mouse, and so on. We can also see the first record on the virtual machines list on the main control panel, the Windows 7 machine. We can also see its current state and current CPU usage. But let's go back to the Win7 control window. There are a few interesting features there. First, as you could have noticed, the window size doesn't match the virtual machine's screen resolution. The reason is that when the guest screen resolution changes, Virtual Manager doesn't catch that up and doesn't redraw the window with the necessary size. We can fix this manually with the action View Resize to VM. Second, we can pause and unpause the virtual machine. The virtual machine's state freezes up while it's paused. Third, we can open the virtual machine's configuration, which we had already seen right before its creation. Here you can not only see the current virtual machine's settings, but change them as well. Keep in mind that some settings can be adjusted with the machine running, while other settings require the machine to be shut down. Fourth, from this window we can also control the virtual machine power. We can make a reboot, a shutdown, a force reset, and a force off. The last one mimics a power failure. We can also open the virtual machine Snapshots control menu. Now the snapshot list is empty. Let's try and create a snapshot of the virtual machine in some specific state. To do that, first we move back to the machine's interaction window and we get the virtual machine into a state we want it to be. For example, right before the actual Windows installation begins. Now we go back to the Snapshots menu and click the plus sign. We'll be asked to pick a name for the snapshot. We'll also see the machine's current state and screenshot. We can see now the new snapshot on the list. Let's try it out. First, we turn off the machine. The machine is powered off, but we'll try to get it back into the state it was when the snapshot was created. To do that, we go to the Snapshot menu and double-click on the snapshot we've created. The machine is going to be restored into the correct state. If the virtual machine was turned on at the moment of the snapshot creation, then after the restoration it would be online again. One more interesting feature. There's a special menu to generate and send special key combinations. Ctrl-Alt-Delete, for instance. The final point of interest is the capability to redirect USB devices from the host to the virtual machine and back. With this menu you can redirect real USB devices into your virtual machine, including USB sticks. The last thing we're going to try is to delete the virtual machine. To do that, we need to turn it off, then right-click on it, and then select the delete action. During the deleting, you'll be asked would it be okay to erase the associated virtual disks as well. Since we don't need the disk without the machine, we can agree to erasing it. And so, that's the main features of Virtual Manager. We'll be using it quite a lot in our future guides, so you'll have a lot of practice in time. For now, provided information would be quite enough. That's the end of this video guide. Thank you very much for your attention, and I'll see you later.